Okay, so military people have a lot of items that they get that they receive from the military, but they don't pay taxes on. Okay, so taxable, we have their base pay. Everybody gets base pay. They get special pay, for instance, if they are a flyer or if they work under the water or whatever, they get bonuses. So if they, for instance, enlisted person might get a bonus for staying in for another 6 years. Okay. They get incentive pay, other types of pays, and in-kind military benefits. And these are all taxable. Okay. What is not taxable is if they are serving in a combat area. Everything is, well, let me rephrase that. Enlisted people, warrant officers are not going to be paying taxes on their combat pay. Officers pay up to the highest amount of enlisted pay. That's when they start paying taxes. So officers make the most money in the military. Okay, so let's say that the top enlisted person makes $5,000, $10,000 a year. That's where the officers would start their paying of taxes at their whatever their rank is. Okay. What's also not taxable is other pay, death allowances, family allowances, living allowances, moving allowances, travel allowances, and in-kind military benefits. Okay. If you guys know of anything else, let me know. Okay. Speak up. Okay. So military taxes, joint returns. So generally, in the military, there are a lot of people that are split. The spouses are split. In other words, the husband is out somewhere, Japan or Middle East or wherever, and the wife, generally the wife, stays at home, Virginia, wherever. However, when they file a joint return, they have to both sign a return, or the military person can get a power of attorney to file the return. And then just use the power of attorney. Okay. Members of the armed forces. Hello, Sean?
Hi. Yeah, just a quick point on that. The JAG, when they do the yellow ribbons pre-deployment, usually has anyone who's going to be particularly off-grid or in a hard-to-reach area sign a POA to somebody back home.
Yeah, that's true. Usually when somebody goes off to another country, let's say, they get their stuff together, and especially if they leave their spouse behind. And I can't say anymore spouse being a woman or spouse being a man. It's now pretty much equal. Okay. There are many, many, many women in the military. And so it could be vice versa. Okay. In fact, in my situation, my ex-wife was in the military. So we went different ways a lot of the time. So anyway, members of the armed forces receive many different types of pay and allowances. Some are included in gross income, while others are excluded from gross income. Certain excluded items are not subject to tax, but may have to be shown on the tax return. Moving expenses is the big one. Okay, a military person gets to use moving expenses. However, I will tell you that most moving expenses are reimbursed by the military. Okay. Has anybody here ever been in the military besides me? No?
Me?
You have?
Yes, sir.
When were you in the military?
From 1990 to 1990 to 1999.
Oh, 9 years. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Shanika, yeah, I'm trying to have a conversation with you.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Okay. So you were in for 9 years, right?
I was.
Okay. Where were you based at?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. I started out in, where did I start?
Somewhere.
Fort Stewart, Georgia. I know, right? Fort Stewart, Georgia. Then I went to Camp Darby, Italy. That's where I met my husband. Okay. Then I went to...
Was he in the military too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I went to Wiesbaden, Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then from Wiesbaden, I came back to South Carolina. And then from South Carolina, I went to Saudi Arabia. From Saudi Arabia, I came back to Georgia, and that was actually Saudi Arabia was it. That was my tour.
Wow. Well, you had a lot of tours.
I did.
My gosh.
I loved it.
One year, every 1.5 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Wow. Good. Good. So actually, yeah, you should have given this speech here because you know all about military. Anyway, okay. And as Shanika will tell you that in the military, moving expenses, most of it is reimbursed,
Yep.
so you can't double dip and take it off your taxes too.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. Sale a home. Okay. They have special privileges when you sell the home. When you own a home in the United States and you get stationed, let's say in Korea, there are certain things that you can do that the normal civilian cannot do. Okay. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Combat pay. Again, combat pay is free. So if somebody is stationed in the combat area, the enlisted person and the warrant officer do not get charged taxes for their pay, and the military for the officers is basically start at the highest enlisted pay. That's where their taxes start. So if it's a young lieutenant, a first lieutenant going to Korea, probably he's going to be taxed at everything because he makes less than the highest enlisted person. Okay. Uniform costs and upkeep. If they use their uniforms off post, in other words, off the base, they first of all, we call them BDUs. Okay, those are the battle dress uniforms. Those are not allowed off the post. However, a lot of people in around military bases, you'll see them off post, off the base, with their battle dress uniforms on. However, all these items they can reduce. They can take them to the cleaners and get reimbursed for that through their taxes. Okay. And let's see here. Now, here is on the sale of home. Okay, you may not have to pay tax on all or part of the gain from the sale of your main home. Usually, your main home is the one you live in most of the time. Can be a house, houseboat, mobile home, cooperative apartment, or a condominium. There is a 5-year test period that can be suspended for members of the armed forces. You can choose to have the 5-year test period for ownership and use suspended during any period you or your spouse serve on qualified official extended duty as a member of the armed forces. This means that you may be able to meet the 2-year use test, even if because of your service, you didn't actually live in your home for the required 2 years during the 5-year period ending on the date of sale. The period of suspension can't last more than 10 years. You cannot suspend the 5-year period for more than one property at a time. You can revoke your choice to suspend the 5-year period at any time. Okay. So can anybody put this in layman's terms?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you lived in Georgia for 2 years. Then you went to Italy. Then you went to Germany. Then you went to Saudi Arabia. You decided to sell your home because you're coming back to California, but you haven't lived in it in 6 years. You still get to take the 121 exemption for up to $500,000 for a married couple, even though you haven't lived in the house in 6 years.
Correct.
Because you lived in it 2 years prior to deployment.
Right. Now
That's
you
what
said
happened
6
to
years.
me. I had a home in Georgia, and I did that, went all those different places, and then I ended up selling when I moved to Arizona.
So how many times did you do it though? Because you were only somewhere for like 2 years or less.
I know. I purchased a home. Actually, it was like a mobile home. My first little purchase. It was a mobile home in it was North Carolina or South Carolina. It was North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. So I purchased it there, and then I traveled all those different places, and I rented it out while I was gone. And then when I actually got out the military in Georgia, that's when I actually sold it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. If you are in the reserves, okay, whether it's a ROTC in college or you're in the reserves doing weekend duty, you can deduct unreimbursed travel expenses for traveling more than 100 miles away from home to perform your reserve duties. You know, sometimes you have to travel quite a ways once a month to do your reserve duty. It's only if it's the mileage is more than 100 miles is that you can write it off. Okay. Tax credits. You may be entitled to credits, just like earned income credit, child tax credit, and certain education credits on your tax return. There are specific qualifications and requirements for each credit. Okay, and as you note there, the publication are all noted next to the item being discussed. Okay. Forgiveness of tax liability. Tax liability can be forgiven, or if already paid, refunded if a member of the U.S. forces dies while on active duty or active service in a combat zone, from wounds, disease, or other injury received in a combat zone, or from wounds or injury incurred in a terrorist or military action. Tax for the year of death and possibly for earlier years can be forgiven. Okay.